Welcome to Writing and Influence, the podcast where words meet impact. I'm your host, Elaine Acker, and I believe that publishing, whether it's a book, a blog, or even a simple social post, has the power to amplify your influence and change lives. Your words have power. Let's start writing with purpose. Welcome, everybody. I want to introduce you to my friend and colleague, Lisa McGuire. I could go on and tell you all the wonderful things about Lisa, but I think what I want to tell you most is how Lisa has impacted my career and my work. It's really funny because when I joined one of Lisa's groups, and she can tell you a little bit more about her group later on. But when I joined that group, I think I was hesitant. And it was weird that I was hesitant because who wouldn't want to spend more time with Lisa? But, I was kind of holding back. And I finally realized sometimes the things we resist are the things we need the absolute most. And Lisa's really good at talking about your own authenticity and kind of guiding you toward how to show up with that in your work, in life, in lots of places. So, Lisa, I'm going to let you expand on my intro, but I am so glad you're here with me today.
Elaine, I have been thrilled and so excited to have this conversation. And thank you all the kind things that you said. I feel the same way about you. But anyway, a little bit about maybe who I am and how I position myself. So I have come to the point of what I'm seeing in the world right now with all of the noise is people need to present themselves more authentically. So I call myself an authenticity architect and reinvention strategist because what the marketplace today demands of us is to reinvent how we position ourselves to the world. If you haven't noticed, and those of you listening to the podcast, just take a moment and look around, the world is not what it was 5, 10, 3 years last week, right? It's very different. And so all you have to do is figure out, okay, so if the world is different, how do we respond to it? One of the things that we say is we don't know, when the world changes so much, we don't know who we are. We don't know what to fight for. We don't know what to stand for. So that's really coming back to ourselves. And so what I do is help people really not reinvent as in burning it all down, but go back and reclaim and remember who they are. So that is how I position myself. I work with people going from corporate to consulting, people who are looking to maybe burn it all down and create a lifestyle design business, people who are looking for their next act. And it's all really exciting.
It is exciting. And like I said, I have been the beneficiary of that wisdom and that journey. And I still do a lot of what I did in terms of publishing, but I extended that into teaching, and it has been life-changing. I love where I am. I love what I do, and I feel like I am creative in ways that I haven't been in a really long time, and that feels good.
And Elaine, when we got on this call, I could see it in your face. I see the passion and the excitement for this new chapter for you. I'm thrilled.
Well, you've been a big part of that, so I appreciate it. One thing that was a big part of that as I thought about, what should Lisa and I talk about most today? Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I think people underestimate is the power of journaling. And that wasn't the focus of what we were doing, but it was a tool that I used in order to sort my thoughts out on the page for what I was experiencing, and then kind of get some takeaways that would be a launch pad to the new you, to the new me. So talk about that a little bit and how that plays a part in some of your programs.
Yes, and I want to start out by saying when people talk about journaling, there's a number of different reactions to it. So, for instance, we both have a very dear mutual friend who loves journaling, and she would tell me how journaling had been so transformative for her. And I thought, ugh, I don't really like that. You know, like, sounds like another English assignment. Sorry, Miss
Yeah.
English teacher here. Um, but it
I
sounds
get
like
it.
another assignment. But
Yeah.
when you look at it, and here's what I have come to understand, and this is one thing that's really important to me in my programs. I don't believe if you hear someone say, I have the absolute answer for you, run the other way because we are all designed so uniquely. There is no one size fits all. You have to
Yeah.
find out what works for you. So when you talk about journaling, and this is one of the things we did in the program, so there would be a prompt or a thought for the day. And then there would be time that you would need to reflect about it. So for some people, it is writing it down and maybe writing a paragraph of your thoughts about it. For other people, it might be taking the voice memo app on your phone and speaking into it. Because one thing I know is sometimes there are people that process information by putting the sound of their voice into sound waves, right?
Yes.
And sometimes it's just a prompt and sitting quietly. And some people call this morning pages, some people call it automatic writing. And then waiting for the thoughts to download and writing what you feel or what comes into you, the thoughts that come into you. So there's a variety of methods, but I think what is really important about all of this is pausing from our hamster wheel, our schedule, our I've got to do this and be here at that point. Like, find time to do it, but find time for that inner voice to come through.
Yes. And you nailed it, because that's really the important thing is how can I sit quietly and build on what I just heard and make that part of my next step? Because that's really how I went from, I'm in marketing publishing to I'm a teacher,
Mhm.
and that felt really good. So one of the things that I know, so journaling really helps lead into, for me and for some people, because I know I get that expression too sometimes when I say journaling, they go, "Ugh." But my fingers are hardwired to my keyboard,
Sure.
so it's just the way my brain works. Um, but whatever you do that does that in that quiet space, it's that pathway toward authenticity.
Mhm.
So maybe talk a little bit about what it looks like when people are not being authentic to their true self, and what it looks like once they've kind of come along in that journey and feel comfortable. I would say comfortable in their own skin again.
Yes. So I'd like to start by telling a story.
Okay.
Imagine that. Um, so it's interesting. I'm part of an executive networking group here in Atlanta, and we had an event at the beginning of the year. It was a women's group that gathered together, and the facilitator of the workshop asked us to write down some things about what we envision for the year. And then she asked us to share it. Well, there's one woman. Now imagine a very polished, professional, C-level executive shared her thought in the room, and she was sitting at the table next to me. And once she did, she turned to me with this look of panic and said something. I can't remember what it was, but whatever I said reassured her, because at that moment where she shared a bit of herself, she felt exposed and vulnerable
Mm.
and almost like people were going to come after her. And we just had this conversation a few weeks ago. She said, "Do you remember saying something to me?" And I said, "Yes, I don't remember what it was." She said, "At that moment, I knew I was safe because if anyone came after me, you would be my advocate."
Yeah.
I thought, well, yes, but here's what I got from this. In our professional roles,
Mhm.
particularly in corporate America or wherever we are in business, we are so ingrained and taught to perform. And this is traditionally what personal brands have been created around. Think about the people that have the personal brand, where they rent the mansion, in Beverly Hills, or the house by the beach in Miami and then rent the Lamborghini and like all
Yeah.
of this. They're putting this on. It is a performance to be accepted as you want to be accepted by other people. But authenticity is about presence. It is about taking the performance away and sitting down and having a human to human conversation like you and I are, Elaine.
Yeah.
And to do that, there are 4 different steps that we have to go through. If I could share this with you.
Yes, please.
Okay. So the first thing we have to do, these are 4 R's. Okay. So the first thing we have to do is we have to remember. Okay. We have to remember who we are. What are the things that we want to be known for? And those are pretty they're factual, they're not emotional, they're not risky. Like these are this is what I do, this is who I do it for, those types of things. The next step, and I'm looking over here to make sure I'm not skipping one,
Yeah.
is we have to reveal. All right, so reveal is where we share maybe a little bit about something a little bit more personal. So it might be, when I started my business and someone told me I had to go networking, like I ran the other way. I thought,
Yeah.
this is the worst thing to do. Okay, so now what I've done is I've gone from I own a business to now I'm telling you a little bit more about maybe my personality, my feelings, my emotions.
Mhm.
And the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to resonate. All right. So when I tell you why I do what I do, like you're going to say, like you probably wouldn't know it. So why I do what I do is my last position working for someone else. I was a leader in a private school. And what I would see is I would see these beautiful children come to the school and their parents who had every good intention. As their children would mature, I would see the parents get more involved in the weeds of what their children were doing.
Mm.
What team they would play on, what position they would be in the play, what subjects they would take, where they would go to college. And I started to see this brokenness come in. And how I was going to be able to help the children and future generations was to go back and help those parents who wanted a do-over,
Mm.
who did not get the chance to be who they were. And
Yeah.
so what I do is I help people figure out who they are so they can go back and reclaim that and stop this generational trauma. Now, would you think like what I'm doing? When I told someone this, they said, "So it's all about healing." And I said, "It is. That's why I do what I do is I want to help people heal." So that's the third level. Now, all of a sudden I've opened the door, right? I've
Yeah.
brought you in. And the the fourth level is radiate. And radiate is what I talked about when I saw you. It is the passion you have. It is when you stand up and you're standing on a mountain and you're blaring it out as I believe in you. I help people know who they are, how to show up, and what to say when they do. I can't wait to work with people and help them transform. So you saw the difference in that level of authenticity.
Yeah.
And
And
go ahead.
I was just going to say, it just feels, the performance is exhausting. The authenticity feels comfortable and happy. Yeah.
It is. And a statistic I'm going to share on the stage this week when I speak at Selwell in Houston is when we measure the vibrational resonance of performance, it comes in around 200 hertz. But when you get to authenticity, it's up at 334. So the vibrational resonancy of how we connect with others, that's that energy flow where people are drawn more to you. So it is more powerful. And that's helped you sell more and win more business too.
I love that statistic just underscored, that impression I was having, that the performance is so exhausting.
It
And
is.
it's not even as good as what you can achieve with genuine authenticity.
Yes, absolutely. They did a study, Elaine, with a Faraday cage. Now, a Faraday cage, if you're not familiar with what it is a barrier that keeps out all the radio waves and electromagnetic waves and measures just what's coming from you inside the cage. And so they gave people some different situations where they could respond and express. And it was anything from, thinking about a situation that was a very happy time or a sad time. And it did not matter whether it was the highest of heights, which is joy and love, or if it's the lowest of lows, which is grief and shame. That when the person had a chance to respond with how they really felt, with authenticity, it
Yeah.
was a 40 times higher vibration than what love was, which is the highest.
Oh,
So think of that connection. Think of the person when they walk in the room, and I call it the who is she energy, right? That person who walks in, who just has that confidence of I know who I am and I know I'm here and I don't have to perform. And when you don't have to perform, you show up to a conversation fully present.
Mm. Mm-mm-mm. Well, let's build on that a little bit. Because the other place we feel like we have to perform is in content.
Yes.
And when I say content, I mean all kinds of writing.
Mm-hmm.
So we may be writing a script for a video. We may be writing a social media post, maybe writing a blog article or a whole book like you may or may not be writing right now. I don't know how much you want to hint about that. But so I know you've worked on all the content pieces for all the things before, the website pages, all the things. So, yeah, that's part of how we define ourselves and put that out there. So what would you say to somebody who's struggling to take who they are and how they feel, put that into words so that other people can read it, learn from it, understand who you are, understand how you can help them? What do you say to somebody that's trying to translate the authenticity onto a page?
So, first of all, I want to acknowledge just the thought of that can be very scary because people are thinking I have to throw open the doors and dump everything out.
Yeah.
And it's not that. That's exposure. All right. That's exposure. And we have to be wise about what we do because if we expose too much and we expose it at the wrong time, we are dealing with people. And people are going to project their ideas onto you, which we really cannot avoid. People come with their own baggage. And even just if you look like someone they used to know, they're already making a judgment about you, right? Like we know about judgment from our program that we did, right? So the first thing I want to do is I want people to know there is a process that you can follow and to get really clear about what you care about. Because when you write content, and I know there's a lot of people who are leveraging AI in every which way they can. But if you go into AI and just say, write me a blog article about this topic, guess what? It's going to sound like every other blog article about this topic.
Exactly.
Because it's going to pull from other people's ideas. So the first thing that people go to when they write content, because it's safe, is I'm going to show up as an expert. And that's worked fine up till now because we want to hire people who are experts. We want to know they're an expert. But now we have an expert that's more expert than you. And it is AI. So if you are positioning yourself solely as an expert, a couple of things happen. One, you're going to drown in the noise. Two, the trust is not going to be there because people are going to ask, is that really you or is it AI? Right? And so we have to get beyond that. So this is some of the work that I do with people in determining their identity. What do they stand for and what do they not stand for? So that's the second level we go to. Expert content is important because it's part of your brand. It's part of what you represent. You do need to show that you know what you're speaking to. But the second level is point of view. And this is where people get a little bit hesitant because they want to work with everyone, right? And so that's the problem is you really don't want to work with everyone and everyone doesn't want to work with you. So let's put that as a baseline. But what is it about the expertise content that you agree with and what do you disagree with? And it's very beneficial if you are at least a little bit polarizing. And the reason
Yeah.
why is when someone reads your content and they don't agree with it, they're going to keep on moving, which is a good thing. Because if people do not align with your position or they read a position and they think, this sounds intriguing, like the yellow button on the LinkedIn engagement piece, right?
Yeah.
Then you may be able to pull them in. But it's really important to take a point of view and you can decide where on the continuum, how strongly you want to lean. I have found the more I understand about who I am and the more I understand how I'm designed, I am much stronger in how I speak in my content. And I don't know if you've seen that transition in me, like where I went into where I was invisible to
Yes.
now I put it out there, but I'm doing it in a way where people are getting to know me. All right. So
Mhm.
step 2 is point of view content. Step 3 that we need to determine is determining your personality. All right. So are you someone, and I'm thinking of a particular client that I know wants to speak from the stage. She has this amazing humor. So in her content, she needs to make sure she infuses that. If you're someone who is inspiring or empowering, which is the voice and tone I take, I believe in your brilliance. I believe it's there and we can find it together. Then that needs to come through. Now you think about how do I put my personality in? It's storytelling. It's storytelling. And we're talking about the point of view about some of your content and even reflecting as someone from the side about what you think about that, right? So you put your personality in.
Mhm.
And the last piece, Elaine, is character. And character is the one for me personally that is a absolute yes or a no when I see someone's character, all right, come through in their content. And let me give you an example of how that might play out. So, if someone is telling a story about an incident and something happened, and you either make a comment that is a judgment about maybe something someone could not control, or how you followed through the process and it does not align with my values, then that's impacting your brand. Like that is making an impact on me. So, of the 4, expert, point of view, personality, and character, to me, the character is an absolute yes or no.
Mm.
And how you can weave this in content is think of something that happened today. And we've all seen how somebody takes, I went to the grocery store and I saw this person in the parking lot, and this was the takeaway I had from it, right? Like we could
Yeah.
all relate those things. But that would be the way I would begin to look at authenticity is to bring more than that expertise into your content.
Yeah. And you said the word while we were talking there, you said the word design. You said how you're designed.
Yes.
And this could probably be a whole other half-day conversation. But I want to touch on it because you do a lot of work in what's called human design. So do you want to talk briefly about what it is and how it affects this journey to authenticity and showing up authentically in your writing?
Yes, and I will make it as brief as possible because yes,
I
days.
know it's a whole workshop, days and days on end, but if you can give people a glimpse,
Sure.
that'd be great.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, I want to go back to as we come into this world, we were created with these natural talents and gifts. And then what happens is our parents come in and they have a responsibility to raise us. And they bring some of their perspective in on how we should behave and not behave and how things go, right? So we start believing stories based on some of the situations that happen. And you and I know much of that happens before the age of 7, all
Yeah.
right? So we have that. Then we go off to school. And then we have society comes in that says, this is the way you do it. This is how we have to follow the process. These are the rules. They give us the message of be yourself, but not that way, right?
Be
And
yourself, but
so
not too much of
not too
yourself.
much, not too
Yeah.
much. Like, don't cross the line. You need to perform a little more, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so what happens, we get to a certain point where we have this script that we follow. And there's a period between the ages of 35 and 42, which is called the crumble, all right? Where
Mhm.
we suddenly look up from what we're doing and think, I followed the plan. I followed the script. Is this all there is? Why does this not feel right? It's
Mhm.
because we've gotten so off track based on how our design is. So I don't know about you, but I know a lot of people who are personality test junkies, right?
I I might be
You, you,
guilty of
you
that.
know anybody? I am as well. Because what we want to do is we want to get a picture of who we really are, and we're trying to reconcile how it fits into this world. But what human design is, it is the basis that exists under all of these personality
Mm.
tests, and it's created from ancient wisdom and modern science. It's created from the Chinese I Ching, the energy of the Hindu chakra system, and the Judaism mystical Kabbalah tree of life,
Mm.
which, by the way, is the basis of the Enneagram personality test.
I'll be darned. I did
How
not know
about that?
that.
And it's combined with modern science, which is the quantum, which is how energy flows as you and I talk. So think about if you've ever been in a room and somebody walks in, and remember I talked about that who is she energy?
Yeah.
They're bringing that energy in. Or think about how you've met someone and you thought, ooh, they were really creepy, right? Or maybe
Yeah.
somebody's following you and you can sense this. We emit energy out from our body in an aura, and it's even coming through on the screen. So, what human design does is an energetic blueprint that will tell you how you're designed to operate, how you're designed to make decisions, how you are designed to create a business model that works for you, your purpose, the work you are to do. And when you follow that design and fall in alignment, that's when you can live a life of fulfillment. So, understanding and analyzing that blueprint is one thing I do for people. And as you have found, when you fall into what you are created to do, that's when that brilliance comes out.
And when you talk about purpose, now I know that's partly what's included in your podcast.
Yes.
So I do want people to know about your podcast, but I think that purpose piece
Mhm.
is what really caught my attention when you first started putting yourself out there and letting people know and saying, "Hey, there there may be an easier way to go about this than what you're struggling through right this second." So, tell us a little bit about your podcast, and then I want to get into some things that you have coming up.
Sure, sure. So the podcast is called Your Passion, Purpose, and Personal Brand. Need that pop filter on my microphone there, right? So for the enunciation. But here's what I want to say about that. I think if you talk to most people in the world, they're looking for meaning. So they're looking for their purpose. They're looking for their purpose when they really don't realize they already have it. So they read books, they listen to podcasts, they hire coaches, they go through therapy. I'm looking for my purpose. And this was something that actually started with me from the age of 10.
Hmm.
I remember laying on the grass. I grew up in rural Ohio, outside of Dayton, Ohio. And it was during the time where your mom said, go out and play. And you went and laid in the grass and you watched the clouds, right? That's what he's doing. But I remember having this conversation with God saying, okay, I'm here. What am I supposed to be doing? Like, give me something to do. And then I got sidetracked. But here's what I know is when you take the gifts that you're passionate about and you find a way to use them and put them out into the world, it is when your ability to use those gifts to help further something to become better, that becomes your purpose. And so you don't have to go out and look for it. You already have it within. So it is a weekly podcast. I've gone 4 years. I'm episode 191 today. And yes, it's solo episodes. So when I get this download of you need to go talk to people about it, I'll have a solo episode. But what I do is I talk to a lot of people who are having this normal life, like we're all told to live. And they either have an aha moment, they have a crisis that happens, they see an injustice in the world, and they decide they're going to go do something about it and they go chase it. And so I give them the microphone, I let them tell their story. It's to inspire people that you have a choice. You are not locked into what you are doing necessarily. Now, maybe you feel like you have to for survival and those things, but even in every situation, you can find a way to bring a unique perspective to that position.
I believe that 100%.
Yes.
And so for the people who are like me and who are ready to put down the performance piece and start making it a whole lot easier by just kind of, as you said, not finding your purpose, but rediscovering your purpose and embracing the idea of authenticity. Tell us, how they should connect with you. What programs do you have coming up that can kind of guide us along that path?
Yeah, absolutely. So how to connect with me? I'm on LinkedIn most every day, either posting or definitely commenting. I do take some pause on the weekends where I just need to take my breath and kind of get out in nature and do a little bit more. But you can reach me at lisa@lisamcguire.com. That's my email.
Okay.
And then programs, as far as to begin, there is one that you were in, Elaine, you and a few others, called Next Steps to the New You. Because what happens is when we decide, okay, I want something different, I'm not sure what it is, we're stuck, right? And so as we are stuck, how do we begin to do that? So it is a 75-day sprint to get you started. Okay, it's not 75 days and you're done, right? So it's 75 days to get you started. And it combines two different approaches. One is a daily cadence of one idea that can take you more towards the direction of your future self. And then once you get about 3 weeks in, you discover, oh, I'm bumping into the ability to do that. We bring in another approach that helps you see what has been getting in your way for decades that you didn't even know was there. It operates as it's an asynchronous group, which means you can work on whatever time that you want to work on. We do have a Slack workspace where you have a daily prompt you can go in and use. I coach daily within that workspace. And then one 30-minute meeting a week, that cohort gets together. And, I'll let you talk about what's the benefit of being in that group program? How did that
Well,
help?
first of all, building a new habit. So when you say you get started over this 75-day period, I think it's really about building a new habit for yourself and giving you probably the right prompts and places to take a peek behind your own curtain and start to reflect on why you do what you do and whether or not there are better or more comfortable choices that you could be making that make your life feel more meaningful. I mean, not to overstate it, but really, um, just more meaningful. And I found, first of all, I said I hesitated. So if anybody's listening to this and you feel hesitant, this probably means it's for you. So heads up on that one. And then I did find the group because you're kind of wondering, well, we're going to peel back the layers, and now here I am trying to not feel exposed like the lady in your networking group did, but to feel surrounded by people who are supportive during this transition period for you. And that's what I found. So first of all, it's not just for women. There's men and women that were participating in the group and I think benefited equally. But everybody's there for the same reason, is that you just want to reconnect with something that's very meaningful in your life and change the way you make decisions about how you spend your time moving forward. So that's what I would say about that.
Yes. And having done this program, I think it's been 8 times now. What I see is the benefit of going through this with other people. When you feel like, why am I really doing this? Then there's somebody else who needs you to be there to encourage them as well.
Yes.
And I think that, no matter who we are and how much we think we have it together, that to see somebody else is struggling with some of the similar things that you are, I think that is very encouraging. So
it's also reassuring to know that no matter where we are in this whatever stage of life you're in, I mean, we had PhDs, we had just this whole array of people. We had writers, we had marketers, we had such an array of people. And to realize we're kind of all equal in that moment. So that was reassuring, and nobody was ahead of anybody else or better than anybody else. We're all just on this journey of discovery together. That felt really good too.
Yeah, yeah. And it's really fun to see the aha moments and the transformation that people have. So that's one way to work with me. Now, there are people that do finish that program that then go on or come directly. Is the human design piece, right? So I do 4 different levels of analysis. Right now, I'm working with someone who wants to redesign their business based on how they are created. So that has been a great discovery. I also work with people in VIP mentorships. So whether they're moving from corporate to consulting and want to know how to show up authentically, like what makes them different. If people want to do a lifestyle design business. So I've got a gentleman who's redesigning portfolio career because he wants to do a lot of things. Several ways I work with people, but my key piece and what I'm here to do is to help people go back and rediscover who they really are, why they're here, how to find their people, and how to create the message to connect.
Yes. And connection often happens in networking groups. And I know that's another one of those places where a lot of us resist, or just like you said earlier, you're looking at that going, I don't believe I need to be in a networking group. So we won't call it a networking group. Well, maybe we'll call it an opportunity group or something. But I know that you're putting together one called Beyond the Transaction.
Yes.
And I think I love the way you've described it in the title. So we really do need to move beyond the transaction, especially as our world is so much more focused on tech, and we've lost a lot of that human connection. But if you can think beyond the transaction and start to put the human back into your life, into your sales transactions, into your business won't feel so isolated. If you can be part of a group where, as you say, you're kind of looking beyond that transaction. So, last word, tell us about Beyond the Transaction.
So what I love about this is it helps people see a new way of doing business moving forward. So what we do is I teach people how to create their own strategic referral partnerships their own circles, because the chance of getting 12 people who can relate and refer to each other I'd have to have 1,000 people to pull from to curate that, right? So how to create your own. It's a theory I call circle the wagons that we're going to use, but also how to become more authentic in that. And so I took you through the 4 R's, but I also want to say how you get beyond the transaction is we start business with transaction. Then we move to real. Then we move to trust. And it's only when you have trust you can have transformation. So helping people see how to get from transactional business to that transformational relationship. So I'm really excited. Would love to have people, if they're interested, to inquire. It is a year-long program. It includes a lot of peer advisory, connection, people who are action takers and want to learn how to grow better.
Yeah. And I know, like I say, just from my experience, that's going to be something that opens up so many new doors and new opportunities for people. So I'll be excited to see how that one goes for you and everybody who is smart enough to participate.
Well, thank you. Thank you, Elaine.
Lisa, thank you for being here with me. Yeah, I would love to talk to you for hours and hours. And so we'll have to do it again sometime. But thanks for being here and sharing so much of what you're working on and giving us some ideas of how we can make some changes.
Yeah, it's an exciting time in the world, and I think let's seize the day and go after it. There's lots of positive things to come. So thanks for having me, Elaine.